Well, I want to start out that I am grateful to be here today. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to be a part of this group in this chapter, and I'm grateful for each one of you. So a lot of gratitude is in my life recently, and I'm trying to remember to do that every single day because we have a lot to be grateful for. So again, that's who I am. These are some things about me. You know, we talked about man of God, born and raised in Brooksville. Went away right at 18, served in the Marine Corps for 20 plus years, and then decided to come home, you know, kicking and screaming. My wife drug her with me, along with our 4 children that you see up here on the screen right there. We enjoy going to Georgia, doing all kinds of stuff, traveling. We just recently bought a home in Sweden where my wife is from, which is really cool. I like to airboat, snowboard, traveling and hunting. Eating steak is really big on the list. We probably try to do that every week. And then, you know, investor and leader of multiple different companies and things in our community. As Tyler said, I serve a lot at my church. I'm a leader of a men's group there, a couple of men's groups actually. So I'm really into that kind of stuff, and my whole family is as well. So we have a sales team, and that is our mission, is to help people build generational wealth through real estate. I've done this along my career as I have traveled across the country as a Marine, buying houses, fixing them up, usually waiting until the last minute to fix them up and then turning them into a rental property. Again, pissing my wife off probably a little bit because, you know, we had to live in it as a dump until we turned it into a nice home. We have core values that we live by in our company. These are the ones that we go over every single week together, and we usually kind of have like a little story behind each one, but integrity is is the first on the list for a reason, because we want to make sure that we are operating with integrity. Purpose-driven, expertise, excellence, and creativity. Creativity is the most fun that we get to have because there's always ways to get something done. And, you know, when we follow all of these, then we consider, you know, good Marine always has an acronym, and this acronym stands for I peak when I follow all of these. So now, everyone loves to talk about all the winning that they do. I even got to talk about a couple here today. But early on in our investing career, I had a massive loss that pretty much, you know, would have killed most folks and got people to quit. But, you know, Marines are hard-headed, and, you know, we keep on going and we don't stop. And so, but my business partner and I, we lost $120,000 on the second deal that we did together, and we're going to talk about that here today. So, first, yep, we already kind of hit that. All right, so I want to talk about some of the things ahead of time. We thought this was going to be a grand slam deal. It was in a great location in the downtown of Brooksville, Florida, right off of Main Street. It was set up like a duplex. And then we talked to a contractor friend of ours. So we had a family friend at the time that was going to be helping us with this deal. Him and I lived out of state. I lived in Colorado. He lived in California. So they were going to be our boots on the ground for this project. We thought we were going to kill it. And because they thought, hey, it's set up like a duplex, but there's this other space down under the second unit that we could convert and make it a triplex. We're like, man, this thing is going to be a home run, right? So we had a great plan in place, and everything was going to be off to a great start, and we had a great solid vision for this project. And so then we got started and we kicked it off. We raised money, we brought some of our own money to the deal, and we got it going. Right, what went wrong? Well, first off the bat, the government. They, you know, just kicked us right in the teeth. Go figure, the government did not do us that like what we thought. Well, we also learned a lesson. The fact that the home was set up like a duplex, but it was a non-conforming duplex. You're probably wondering what that means. Well, that just means that somebody in the past set it up like a duplex, but it wasn't allowed to be. And after 6 months of no longer using it as a duplex, it reverts back to its original zoning, which in this case was a single-family office residential. So now we're like, okay, we'll change our plans up. And so we go through the planning phase and all this other kind of stuff to try to like make it work. It was just, the bills just kept stacking up. We had done some work on the property, or the contractor hadn't pulled the permits. We got a stop work order, you know, all of that kind of thing. Second on the list, we bought this at the end of 2019, and we were operating through this thing about the beginning of 2020, having the problems with the government, trying to work things out. Bam, COVID happens. Shuts down all the building operations that we were doing. We couldn't even travel down here to come and look at the project or anything. And we're on the phone day in, day out with the contractor, with the government, trying to get this whole thing figured out. And it was a real big crap show. And then to top it all off, at the very end, we finally decided, hey, we got to sell this turd, right? And so we decided that we're going to sell it through a wholesaler, which, that was our last option because we didn't really want to pay commissions. The person that we had hired to buy the home was also the contractor, and the relationship with them had broken down because they didn't want to take any ownership in the project. And what they sold us on this thing. Not only did she get a commission when she bought it, but then they sold her company and being able to walk us through that project. And at the very end, we left flooring in there. We had negotiated that if they wanted the flooring, they could buy it from us. We would give them a deal. Well, they ended up not, and it wasn't communicated to the end buyer. So we're like, okay, we're going to get the flooring out, contact the owner. He's like, over my dead body, you're getting the flooring out. That flooring is mine. So we're like, awesome. Anyway, that guy got what he was having. It took him 2 years to finish his rehab, and he sold it for a big loss as well. So anyway, that kind of wraps up what didn't work. Now, what did we learn from this? Not every deal is a good deal. So now what we do is we do a best case, most likely case, and a worst case scenario. And then when it's in that worst case scenario, it still has to be a viable project that makes money. Maybe it doesn't make as much money, but it's going to make money and we're not going to be losing on the back end. Numbers don't lie. So we should have been a little skeptical when they said, oh yeah, we can do this for 20, that one for 20, and that one for 20 for all 3 units to go into place. We're like, man, that sounds like a great deal. And so, we should have probably been asking more things. We were still somewhat new to this type of investing. Before that, we were buy the house, live in them, fix them up. We had done a small project together previous to this that was a duplex that was conforming, and we were able to, get the project. We thought we were going to be a home run. But numbers don't lie. Also, real wealth is built through discipline. One of the things that we could have easily done was quit, right? But we chose not to. We stayed disciplined. We learned from our mistakes. We moved on. We got better, and we kept on going. And we applied what we learned to the next projects that we did. This is why you want to use an actual professional, somebody that's taken an L, somebody that's been kicked in the teeth, somebody that has that experience to be able to help you in whatever it is that you're trying to do, even if it's just buying your next home. It could be a fixer-upper that you're looking for because you want to inject value into it. You're going to want somebody that understands that, and that is what we provide at our team, is a team of professionals. And that wraps up my presentation here today. I do want to say a quick plug. If you haven't had an opportunity to come to our Relentless Growth, we would love to have you there. We're going to have a former Navy SEAL that's going to be on the next one. His name is James Lascara. He has built a great wealth while being an active duty sailor. He's only recently retired. I did some of the same, things in my career, and we're going to be talking about how you can do that with a 9-to-5, using real estate, using other assets to go ahead and build your wealth. And that wraps my presentation up here today. Thank you.